Found in the foothills of Dartmoor National Park, Okehampton is a traditional British market town and home to Dovecote Cafe and Bistro. Enjoying the views of sheep and cow fields from a train window, Gordon visits owners Mick and Mo and their 19-year-old adopted daughter, Michelle. He happily anticipates sampling the produce from the local area. Having successfully run the busy cafe for 6 years, Mick spared no expense when he turned the upstairs area into a bistro, including psychedelic wallpaper.
I could have done this room cheap and nasty, but at the end of the day I want it to be the best restaurant in Oakham.
But his huge investment isn't paying dividends, and the bistro is usually empty. Mick's previous cooking experience is limited to running a burger van, but he has complete confidence in his own abilities as a chef, and is proud of his unusual recipe ideas.
If I'd have gone to college when I was young, I would have been where Gordon is now.
Without telling his wife, Mick had racked up £80,000 in debts. When the truth had finally come out a month earlier, a shocked Mo cut up the credit cards, but still faces huge financial losses.
Everything's dependent on this business to be saved. My marriage and all.
Mick has opened the bistro on a Sunday afternoon to cook Chef Ramsay some lunch, and he is pleased to see from the sign that all the food is cooked freshly. That's a positive start. He's seated in the dining room by Michelle as Mick prepares a house special, duck with orange sauce. Unusually, it's made with orange squash, a concentrated kids' drink mix. Gordon is concerned about the unusual color of the dish, and Michelle suggests it could be because of the orange squash. Gordon says it's worse than cough syrup and spits it out. Next up is a lamb shank, which Gordon has been looking forward to.
It's local lamb?
They're actually vacuum-packed ones. Actually, they can last for about a year.
Yes, that's right. The lamb shank is shelf-stable and doesn't require refrigeration, so it has been sitting in a box in a hot kitchen for an entire year. Gordon refuses to even taste it and rinses his mouth with water at the very thought. Chef Ramsay thinks it's the worst food he's ever come across and heads downstairs to the kitchen to break the bad news to owner Mick. Admitting he didn't even sample the vacuum-packed lamb shank, Gordon checks the lamb's ingredients, and as suspected, it's packed with additives and chemical preservatives. A defiant Mick defends the lamb, saying it wouldn't be sold if it wasn't safe, and pubs in the area use the same products. Gordon refers him back to the menu, with its boasts about fresh produce. Mick admits that's not entirely truthful, and when asked about the luminous orange duck sauce, Mick is certain the customers love it. Michelle backs him up, saying they've never had a complaint. Ramsay feels that the final insult is the price. Mick is charging £11 for the dish, and refuses to admit that's way too much. Mo becomes emotional as she explains how hard the whole family has been working, and tearfully asks for Gordon's help. Chef Ramsay says he needs some fresh air. He certainly needs something fresh for a change. When Gordon returns, he meets Mick in the small apartment above the restaurant, where the family lives. Mick explains that he sold the family's much-loved 4-bedroom house to invest in the bistro, despite Mo being against his plans from the very beginning.
It was a dream, and I took it away from him.
He tells Gordon that it doesn't matter what Mo said, it was his dream and he was going to follow it. Gordon calls him stubborn, selfish, and old-fashioned. Mick looks unflustered, despite risking losing the business and his family's, now very modest, home within months. Mick confides in Gordon that he still isn't telling Mo the truth about the finances, and though she's cut up the credit cards, he has a new one with a limit of £4,000. And he wants to use that money to make the bistro decor even better. Chef Ramsay fears that Mick has lost touch with reality and is gambling Mo and Michelle's future away. To see how the restaurant operates, Gordon has filled the dining room with 30 customers, and Mick gets to work microwaving vacuum-packed meat. He works alone and doesn't communicate with his wife because he believes she will forget what he says anyway. Mo quietly gets the vegetables and garnishes ready without his direction. The kitchen is soon backing up, and Mick is crumbling. He refuses to take any more orders. Michelle confidently approaches him to find out what's going on, and Gordon is impressed with how she handles the hungry diners. Customers who have received their food soon start sending it back, and a grumpy Mick blames his wife and Michelle, both of whom have had enough of his behavior. Mick walks out.
I don't want you to have a fucking heart attack. I don't want you to have a heart attack over this.
While Mick finishes his medicinal cigarette break, Mo and daughter Michelle are upstairs handling the 18 angry customers who haven't eaten. Gordon sends Mick up to apologize, which doesn't come easily. And when he's finished apologizing to the diners, Chef Ramsay pushes him to do the same to his wife and daughter, who can't take any more of what Gordon describes as his mental torture. The next day, Gordon takes the family to visit a dairy farm. He wants them to move from fake food to fresh food, and think about where quality ingredients come from, starting with milk. The whole family takes a turn milking the cows, while Gordon offers friendly support and advice.
Come on, Michelle, you can do it. Who's the new boyfriend last Saturday night?
The dairy started as a small family-run business, and their reputation built over time. Gordon wants the Martins to do the same. Next, they visit a butcher to see a real lamb shank, and it seems that the message about using fresh ingredients is finally starting to get through to Mick. Back at the restaurant, it's time to revise the menu. But instead of changing the dishes being offered, Gordon simply wants to change how they're prepared. He starts with local lamb shanks with red wine and fresh vegetables. Moving forward, the duck à l'orange will be made with garlic, onions, and fresh orange juice. With 40 locals booked for dinner, the other dishes remain unchanged to give Mick time to get used to the new way of cooking. As service begins, Gordon tells Mick he needs to speak to his family to keep things running smoothly. He doesn't, and is soon getting confused. Standards start to slip. The lamb shank is a mess, and a cremated chicken dish is sent out as absolutely perfect by the owner. Guests aren't happy, with much of the food over or undercooked. The evening was a disaster. But Mick is in denial, and says all the mistakes made throughout the evening were in the dining room, not the kitchen. Michelle bursts into tears, and Mo steps in to protect her daughter, but admits that her marriage and family life are on the line.
Can't lose a family, I've already been through trying to have somebody want me.
Gordon feels that the way forward for the restaurant is clear. Mick can't cook, and he has to go. The family can't afford to hire a new chef, but Gordon believes that daughter Michelle may have what it takes to run the kitchen. He breaks the news to Mick and Mo that they have the night off, and he'll be running service with their daughter. Together, they start creating a fresh new soup to replace Mick's packet mix. Michelle is Gordon's only hope of turning the restaurant around, though he acknowledges that at 19, she already has the world on her shoulders. As they prep the soup, Michelle admits she fears her parents splitting and losing her adopted family, and Gordon confides that he only got into cooking when his parents were going through a messy divorce. At 19, he turned something negative into something positive, and found a career instead of going off the rails. Michelle's chili and basil soup is ready and it's delicious, and Gordon is clearly delighted with his choice of new head chef. She's ready to go and is unaware that her parents are seated upstairs, ready to try her food. Gordon helps her produce the dishes, but is amazed at how capable she is. Her first ever attempt at working in a professional kitchen is a huge success, and 0 mistakes were made. A single sitting has taken almost 1,000 pounds, and Gordon is sure that they could operate 2 sittings 3 nights a week and be out of debt within 8 months. Mick hugs his daughter and tells her he is proud of her. She's excited about her new role and keen to keep it going. So the kitchen is looking better, but Gordon can't leave the restaurant until he's fixed the dining room. And that means getting rid of Mick's beloved psychedelic wallpaper. Gordon would also like to get rid of the wall-mounted TV, which Mick proudly announces is indestructible. Gordon gladly accepts the challenge, and Mick is proved right. Together, Gordon and Mick cover the wallpaper with a clean coat of white paint. And then it's time to talk about finances. Sitting in the local park, Gordon asks Mick to outline the debt they are in. The restaurant has a £25,000 overdraft and around £75,000 in credit card debts. But Mick fails to mention the new credit card he has hidden away. Gordon calls him out on the lie, and he admits another £5,000 of debt. Mo is surprisingly calm, but threatens to end their relationship if he spends another penny. Gordon wants Mo to be given complete control of the business. Mick once again walks away when the conversation gets uncomfortable. Back home, a furious Mo stands up to him for once, and knows it's time to seriously think about their future together. It's launch day, and Gordon has a big surprise for the family. He's changed the name of the restaurant to their surname, Martin's, to reflect how they need to run the business together. Chef Ramsay is rewarded with a big kiss from Mick. Inside, the white walls offer a calmer atmosphere, and the TV and tablecloths have been removed to give the dining room a clean and modern feel. Michelle is ready for action, and Gordon has added 3 fresh dishes to the menu. Mick will be staying upstairs, running the bar, far away from the kitchen. There are 2 sittings booked, so Michelle will be under real pressure, and Gordon is only acting as a commie chef for the night. As orders start to come in, Michelle efficiently sends out dishes, and customers are delighted. Well, all but one. A friend of Mick's has come in for dinner, and pulls him aside to say how much better Mick's food was than Michelle's, even the lamb shanks. Mick's mood deteriorates, and he starts losing control of the dining room. The second sitting of diners arrives, and Mick hides out back. His stress levels are affecting the mood of the other serving staff. But Michelle breezes through her second ever service effortlessly, and her mom, Mo, is a rock. Gordon decides that Mick is a problem wherever he works. But Mick believes he ran front of house perfectly. He walks out, again, leaving Mo and Michelle to say goodbye. As Gordon leaves, he is concerned that Mick will put pressure on his family to return to his old ways. 6 weeks later, Gordon is on his way back to Okehampton. Michelle has spent the last month training at one of the best restaurants in the area, and he's keen to see how her cooking has improved. Mo and Michelle greet him warmly, and tell him that customer numbers and takings are both up. Michelle heads to the kitchen to make Gordon some lunch, and he takes the opportunity to catch up with Mick. The owner admits that he couldn't have cooked Gordon's menu from scratch, and according to wife Mo, has accepted that he can no longer control the finances. She assures Gordon that she's toughened up. Back in the kitchen, Gordon samples Michelle's salmon dish, which is so delicious he decides to stay on and have dinner in the restaurant. He orders a lamb shank, which couldn't be more different from the pre-packaged rubbish that he refused to taste when he first arrived at the bistro.
Falls off the bone, almost like it's sort of a lady unwrapping her stockings from her legs. The whole thing just slides down.
Customers are happy, and Gordon is happy, saying a warm farewell to Mo and Michelle, and calling her chef. No goodbye for Mick, though? The Dovecote episode of Kitchen Nightmares aired in 2009 and achieved an IMDb rating of 7 out of 10. Viewers had a strong response to the episode and the family behind the British bistro. Owner Mick came in for widespread criticism for his attitude, behavior, and treatment of his wife and adopted daughter. He is often mentioned when fans pick their most hated characters from the series, and is called out for belittling Mo and Michelle, and then accusing them of doing the same to him. He certainly didn't seem to care about the quality of the food he was sending out to the few customers he did have, and was endlessly argumentative when his family tried to help. Viewers had very little, if any, criticism of the women around him, though many wondered why they allowed him, and his supportive friends, to put them down without retaliating. Mo received a great deal of sympathy and support from viewers, who were concerned that Mick didn't seem to care about her. Fans warmed to hard-working Mo, and were worried that her husband's financial recklessness was slowly destroying her life. They were pleased to see her stand up to her husband a little more, and hoped that she would take time to think about the future of her marriage to Mick once the filming was completed. And there was a huge outpouring of love for the couple's daughter, Michelle. Viewers were amazed at how quickly Michelle took to her new role as a bistro chef. Her heartbreaking admission that she feared losing her adopted family had fans in tears, and particularly hit home with others who had been in the same position. It's possible that Gordon saw something in Michelle that reminded him of his own start in the industry. Chef Ramsay's turbulent childhood has been widely reported. His father was an abusive alcoholic who beat his mother, and Gordon experienced time in an orphanage while his father was in prison. Gordon and Michelle's heart-to-heart was one of the highlights of the episode. Ramsay shared his own difficult relationship with his parents and how he had turned his negative start around by throwing himself into his career. He famously started as a pot washer at an Indian restaurant before working his way up to being a world-famous chef. Gordon's belief in Michelle and her ability to outcook her domineering father was obvious and enduring. But what happened to the restaurant when Gordon walked away? Well, Mick started buying cheaper cuts of meat and fish to cut costs, and his focus was once again back on the cafe. But that left mother and daughter to run the newly named Martin's Bistro together, without Mick's input. And Michelle had a new supporter in the kitchen. Mo hired a professional chef to work with her in the bistro and continue the training that Gordon had started. With hard work, it looked like the women were turning the restaurant around, and customers seemed very happy. The restaurant scored 4.3 out of 5 on Google. The changes that Gordon made were popular. The food was highly rated, and they noticed the improved value for money. The restaurant was running successfully for a full 7 years after Gordon's visit, but closed its doors in 2015. The building was taken over by a traditional British fish and chip shop called Grayling soon after. The bistro walls remain white, but the new owners have introduced some colorful and slightly psychedelic upholstery. What would Gordon say? The restaurant gained a 4 out of 5 rating on TripAdvisor and is still open today. And what about the family behind the bistro? Let's start with Michelle, who met boyfriend Dan while she was still working in the restaurant. The boyfriend became a fiancé. Michelle celebrated her 22nd birthday and her engagement with a party at the bistro. And before long, her fiancé became a husband. Michelle and Dan got married in 2012, and Michelle was pictured outside the restaurant as she left for the ceremony. In 2017, the couple were joined by a beautiful baby girl named Grace. But is Michelle still working as a head chef? Sadly not. She now runs her own business as a nail technician. She gets great reviews and is 100% recommended on Facebook. A woman of many talents. We wish her well with her new career, though we know Gordon would have loved to see her continue with the old one. And as for Mo and Mick, there is not much about them online, but we can tell you that they are both devoted grandparents and appear happy and healthy. They both spend time with daughter Michelle, but do they still spend time with each other? Yes, they do. They recently celebrated their 26th wedding anniversary. We wish the whole family all the best for the future.